guys, Hegedus-Garcia and big guy.
Christina Pappas, CEO of the Kais company.
I love having these guys here on stage with us because of their goal, which is to make you guys money ultimately. So I'm gonna ask each one of you, starting, you guys didn't sit with the sign, it's okay, it's okay.
That's just how we roll.
That's fine, that's fine. A little bit about you.
I'll just say my name and the company and we'll roll.
Yes.
Christina Pappas, president of the Kais company here in Southeast Florida.
Ray Mesa, whoa, more of that. Test, 1, 2, 3, there we go. Ray Mesa, Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services, Florida Realty, Mortgage, Title, Insurance, and Home Warranty, most of Florida, I would say. We covered several counties throughout Florida. Glad to be here with my colleagues. But before I turn over the mic I just want to thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Natascha Tello, and I am the CEO of Coldwell.
Good morning, South Florida. It's great to be here. Thanks, TK and the Miami Association for having us. It's always a privilege to represent Coldwell Banker. I am the president of Coldwell Banker Florida, and I'm glad to be here.
Are we still in a shifting market? Has it already shifted? What does this mean to an agent today?
I'll kick it off, and I got to be careful when I say the word shifted market, as English is not my first language, but the market shifted a year ago. So we've already been in this market for quite some time. But one of the things that I would hope that we can share with you here today is, how can you be successful in any market? Because markets are going to flow, and they're going to be high markets, low markets, there's going to be all kinds of markets out there. One of the things I want to share with you is that right now you should be working on your business plan for 2024. All the activities you do over the next 3 months starting on October 1st are going to have an impact on 2024. So I highly encourage you to focus on working on your business plan for 2024. And the market is going to remain this way, Ines, I think, for maybe another year, or who knows. But just be the best you can be, as we told you last year, and work harder than anyone else, and you should do well in any market. Right, Christina?
I agree, right? We like to say shift happens, okay? So shift happens in every market. I often say, raise your hand if you know a market that hasn't been a cycle or moved. No? Anyone live in a really stable market? Well, you live in South Florida, so we don't. So everyone had always seen these ups and downs, and all the boats rise with the tide. So in 21, we all got to rise with the tide, and now, as we say, the tide has gone out, and you get to see who's swimming naked, right? So it's time to ramp up your business, but 6-7% rates are here to stay, and we believe that if you believe it's a good time to buy, your customers will. If you believe it's a good time to sell, your customers will. But if you believe we're going to sit around and wait for this ever idea that the interest rates are going to change, your customers will. So you have to believe it's a great market to buy and sell in real estate in South Florida. You have to believe that people are still moving here, and you have to believe it's the best for them, and they will follow along. But it's your job to believe that. And like Ray said, we just heard Lawrence Yun speak up in Washington, D.C. The rates aren't going anywhere, and we know in an election year, they typically stay the same. So get ready for this, prepare mentally, because a lot of it's just up here, and us just believing that this is the new normal. And when you look back at the last 50 years, 40 of those years, it was higher than 6%. So we're just going, the last 10 years were the abnormal. And that's what we have to start to believe, and that's what we have to start to preach.
So here's what I would add. We talked last year about
So there's a lot of say about the value of the
provide a better opportunity for your customers, right? Staying ahead
How
of the
to
game.
be a better
and then
realtor.
When it comes to, and I think you
How
also
to be a
mentioned
better
it,
realtor.
professionalism. What are you doing to be not customer service, but to provide a customer experience? Right, that experience for that customer, that when they think of real estate, they think of you, which means you've got to be better than everybody else, you've got to be faster, you've got to be very great with communication. The longer it takes for a property to move or things to sell, the more frequently you have to be calling. And so that's how you start setting yourself up to be different than your competition.
I love that, because if COVID taught us anything, is that technology is not going to replace what the agents do. As you mentioned earlier, this is a relationship business. And what we learned in the last 3 or 4 years, technology can make us better. It can make us more efficient. But it's not going to replace the nose-to-nose, toes-to-toes part of this business. And I think you need to continue to work on your relationships, and that's through your database, it's through technology. I was listening to the AI presentation where they were talking about where AI is going to help us predict which of our clients are ready to sell. And I think the more we can work our database and work our referrals, the smarter we're going to get. But this is a relationship business, and technology is going to help, but it's never going to replace what we do every day.
I would just add that it is a relationship business, and absolutely it's who you know and how active you are with your sphere of influence. We've talked about that for over 100 years when Coldwell Banker started. And it's about you engaging everyone you come in contact with, the understanding that they need to know that you are in the real estate business, that you are a real estate professional. I see many of you wearing your name badges. I see many of you not wearing your name badges. You're a secret agent when you're not wearing, or you're not telling everyone that you are in the real estate business, that you are a real estate professional. So our goal here today is to give you some actionable items for the rest of this year, next year hopefully. When we were together last year, we talked about as interest rates were rising. We were talking about, marry the house, date the rate. Well, we're here to tell you today, and hopefully that worked for you, because that's really what it's all about. But we're here today to share with you that maybe you need to talk to your sellers about buying down the interest rate for the buyer. So if you have a listing that is a real estate transaction that is sensitive to interest rates, let's get that seller to agree to buy down that rate for that buyer. Number one, it doesn't impact the price, so you'll be able to maintain the prices in your farm area or in the market that you're doing business. But it also provides the buyer with an opportunity to purchase a property with a lower interest rate. And at the end of the day, we get paid on purchase price, so you want to make sure that those purchase prices are, those market values are staying in place. Again, that's just one more tool that you need to add to your tool chest, so you can be working with those sellers and explaining to the seller, buyers are sensitive to interest rates, we want to get your home sold, let's do an interest rate buy down.
I think to Ray's point,
How to be a better realtor.
Mike Pappas, my father, CEO, is supposed to be here, but he couldn't be with us. But I'm noticing the no socks on Duff, and I feel like my father would give you $2 for pulling that look off.
All right. Mr. Mike Pappas.
I'll let him know, but you pull it off well. The engaged look, the glow. So, but no, I'm channeling Mike as I think about what we talk about value, and to everyone's point, I think you need to understand what your value is. It's no longer just about a relationship. I walked into a listing appointment one time with a close friend and lost because I wasn't fully ready to present my value. I took advantage of the relationship. So what is your value proposition? Are you with a company like ours? We're about to turn 100 years old. Do you have local presence? Do you have local knowledge? How do you market the property? Are you boosting your properties? Are you getting advertising to Facebook? Do you give them the statistics after that and say, here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's what's occurring? How are you showing your value? How are you taking photos of the property? Are you using a cell phone? Are you using a walkthrough property? The value is going to become so much more important. And to Ray's point, what tools do you have in your tool belt? Whether it's from your broker on buy downs with your loan officers, or whether it's through some other partner, but what tools do you have to be able to present and know those tools and which ones to be able to pull out? Do we need to fix up your home prior to moving? There's companies that do that. Do you have access to that? Do you have that tool? Because like Natascha said, there's a market in every market, and some homes are flying off the market still, right? We still have multiple offers, and some are sitting. So what tools are you able to provide to that seller, saying, here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or to the buyer? On the flip side, right, we can negotiate a buy down from the seller. Is there a cash advantage program where they could get into a home cash? So you really need to know the tools and your value back to your relationship.
That's incredible. So I hope you guys are hard and smart, be creative. Okay, I didn't miss anything. Now, we're gonna do a little shift into talk to us about international and domestic buyers. where are big buyers coming from?
Well, I can speak for our company. Most of our international buyers are coming from Ohio, from New York, from California, from Michigan. So there is a great deal of movement to Florida. You should be very glad that that's happening, that we're still a net migration state, and that we have people coming from all over the world and all over the country. I like to focus on the ones that are national transfers to Florida, because those people also have a property to sell where they're coming from. And there's another opportunity for you. When a buyer calls you and says, I'm moving down from California, ask them, what are you doing with your house in California? Because that's a referral opportunity for you to make money on that buyer and to control the transaction, because now you have a realtor at the other end, on the listing end, that you can work with and talk to, so your transaction goes a lot smoother. But we're seeing a great migration from the rest of the country.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Coldwell Bankers Global, we're fortunate to get the reports from all around the world. But as a Canadian, Canadians in the group, I'm proud to say that, you know, I moved here and I saw the benefits of moving not only to America, but to Miami. And I've seen a lot of other international buyers follow suit. The difference is, when I moved here, we used to always focus on the weather, the taxes, and certain benefits that were very obvious. What I've seen change in the last 10, 15 years is the education system. The universities have gotten bigger, better. I've seen the Art Basels, the Miami Boat Show, the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. Some of the events that are now taking place in Florida are the biggest in the world. That's attracting the international buyer, because as we know from international people, they like culture. They want more than just good weather if they're going to stay here longer. Yes, it's great to have the tourism, but to get people to buy and move here permanently, you have to have more than weather and taxes. And I've seen that with the culture.
And that's a shift too, because I think 2 years ago, we had no Michelin star restaurants in Florida. And I think there's now 12 Michelin star restaurants in Florida. So to Duff's point, we have the culture, we have the reasons for people to move down, and now it's just about making the connections. But like Ray said, they're coming from the Northeast, and as my father says, California, CALIF, stands for come and live in Florida. So we're seeing it all over. We still have our South American friends moving here as well, but I think a lot of them are getting outbid on the big stuff by the New Yorkers and the California.
And we got Lionel Messi.
Well, yes, Broward got him. So I think I would add to everything you guys were saying, but the other thing that we've attracted to South Florida that historically we didn't have is a finance market, right? We've seen the finance markets come out of New York. We've seen the finance markets come out of Chicago. We've seen the finance and tech markets come out of California. And I think because we are very pro-business as a state and as a city, that has helped us tremendously. And then I think in addition to that is our favorable tax state, which, yes, historically has always been the case. We have always been a safe haven for that. But I want you to think about the big transfer of wealth that's happening in our country right now. Anywhere across the country you go, people of a certain age are starting to sell those businesses. Well, if you're in a high tax state, you're going to get killed on that income that you're now, liquidating. So a lot of people are moving here with the opportunity, create residency, stay here for 2 years, sell that asset, and now you've actually gained significantly more. And I think because of our culture, because of our restaurants, because of the things we have, we're staying. And that's something we didn't see before.
Yeah, it reminds me, your great organization here hosted FIAPSI this year, and what a great event that was. And it stuck with me. One of the speakers, as someone mentioned, that when you move to Southeast Florida, even though you're a foreigner, you don't feel like a foreigner. You become part of Southeast Florida immediately. So that's another reason we're such a big attraction to folks from all over the world.
I mean, in this room, raise your hand if you were actually born in Southeast Florida.
That's about 10.
Yeah, exactly.
So my selective hearing picked up, Ohio is international. Know what's going on. Know your community's event. Of course, it's really sexy to talk about the luxury market, but let's bring it down a little bit. What is the definition of a starter home today? Are we in a true seller's market? Christina has a really great concept. I'd love for you to start about the tale of two markets. So tell us a little bit about that.
4 or 5 years ago, around 2019, we believed luxury is the top 10% of the market, right? 10% is luxury, anything. So 90% of our market in 2019 in the 3 counties sold at 750 or less, okay? So 90% of the homes sold 750 or less. 2022, 90% of the homes sold at 1.2 million or less. So we have a huge shift in what is considered luxury, and we have a huge shift in what is considered a starter home. And we had this conversation on the phone. In Coral Gables, a $1.5 million property is a 3-2. If it's fixed up, it'll get 12 offers in the first day, still. And it's 1,200 square feet. It's basically a condo alternative. What is a starter home? And that's the conversation. There is this tale of 2 cities. Are you buying a condo in a market with a lot of inventory? Are you buying a new build in a condo? Or are you buying a single family home in a neighborhood where there's 600,000? And now we're seeing even in Broward, Pembroke Pines, average price, $650,000, $700,000 homes. I mean, I think like what my father always said, my grandfather would be rolling over in his grave thinking about these prices. But that's the whole point of today is, do you know your local market? And then do you know the programs available for them for affordable housing? Do you know the Miami-Dade County programs? Did you know about Hometown Heroes? Do you know about the programs available to your buyers in order to get them into these homes?
I would also share, and I agree with everything Christina always says.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, $2.
I need to make my $2 before I get off the stage.
Correct.
There we go. I would tell you that also, look at your builders for homes, for inventory. There is a housing shortage in the United States. We've been through, and you're going to hear from our economists, Florida Realtors economists later, but we've had a housing shortage in the United States for quite some time. And the inventory is going to come from some of the inventory is going to come from builders. Make sure you're using their product, that you're aware of them. Take your customers there because they're going to go there anyway, and you get compensated for bringing them there. But use your builder inventory as part of your MLS business, if you will, because they're trying to build homes as quickly as they can. They are buying down mortgage rates for those that need mortgage. The home builders are already on top of that game, and they're doing it quite well. So make sure you're focusing on that. But pricing is relative. Everything is relative when it comes to pricing. So a $1 million home today was a $500,000 home 25 years ago. And when I started my career in this business in 1980, my average sales price was $48,000. Again, the cost of living was a lot more back then, so I was able to make it. Thank you.
$1 million home was $500,000 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Sorry, wrong market.
No, so I think you all hit the nail on the head with it's relative. What's really important to understand is we are a much newer city. Miami-Dade, Broward County, we're much newer than the rest of the country, and think about that. So originally, hailing from the other country of New York, what we were selling back then, what a starter home was, is completely different than what a starter home was in South Florida 20 years ago. We have to change our mindset around what that is today. So that might mean a condo, it might mean a townhome as opposed to a single family home. And you have to understand, as a new city and a pretty much built out city, everything we're gonna start seeing is gonna go vertical, right? And you're starting to see it in the suburban markets where you didn't see vertical projects before, you're seeing it go vertical. There is no choice, we are pretty much out of single family home land.
Yeah, I was going to add to that and say, we're very fortunate. I think new housing starts, including condos, if you take Florida, equals the entire country added up. So we are very fortunate, even though we have an inventory shortage, to have a lot of new construction. Single family homes towards the north part of Florida, but on the vertical side, you have a lot in Miami. That's a benefit to our market. But when you look at the luxury market and what Christina was talking about, a lot of that was a result of interest rates. When you saw interest rates at 2.5%, 3%, a lot of people were able to push their purchase price from $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 to over $1.5 million. Those days are over, and I think we're going to see people get a lot more realistic in what they're able to buy. I did want to say one last thing before I go. For those of you celebrating the new year, I want to wish you all a happy New Year, happy Rosh Hashanah.
New Year. Oh, that's beautiful. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time because I'm getting like the dirty looks on the other side of the stage. But I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for coming and joining us today. And can we have a round of applause for our panelists, please?
Ines, thank you for being a great moderator. Great job.